You're listening to Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. Hey, what's up, World Wide Web? It's Brandon.
And it's Alex.
And it's Frank.
And we're filmmakers.
And we're also drinking bourbon.
Kinda. Not really. It's early.
Usually. Not
Cheers. Cheers.
Or water.
Cheers, Frank.
All right.
Yeah.
So Frank, the man of steel, is in the building.
Frank the Tank. What's up, buddy?
Everything.
Yeah? Everyone knows about Frank, but...
I don't know that everybody knows about Frank.
I don't think people have heard your voice yet.
No, we teased. We set him up last, a couple episodes
What I
ago.
mean is people know who Frank is. He's our producer.
Frank, tell us about yourself.
Not your, inner soul, who you are. You should go ahead and tell us.
I definitely like to operate in the shadows.
A dark soul.
Keep a mysterious quality to myself.
Frank, who are you? Where'd you come from?
So I'm actually from Dayton and lived in Dayton since I was in kindergarten. I'm a filmmaker and basically in elementary school is when I started just shooting short films and stuff with all my friends. And basically back then there was no internet, there was no resources, there was no podcasts like this. And it was just us and friends figuring it out on ourselves.
So what were you guys, preschool? What?
Not preschool.
What were you shooting on?
Fourth grade.
All right.
Preschool.
Fourth grade, that's fine. Fourth grade.
A little 3-year-old running around
So
with a
I
camera.
Damn, you started early.
I had the only thing, we only had access to one thing, and it was just a camera. It was my parents' Sony 8mm shoulder-mounted, the very first model of the video camera, 8mm format, not film.
Whoa.
What? I don't even know about this.
Videotape.
Was it before beta?
It looks like a little cassette tape.
Huh.
And it's before those DV tapes. It was tape-based. It was a digital signal, but it recorded analogically
Interesting.
onto the
Old
tape.
school, man.
Man,
Yeah.
you're taking it to the old school.
And so it was just back and forth with the camera and a VCR, pause, stop to edit.
Oh, yeah.
And
Nice. So what were you guys doing? What kind of stuff were you making? Just weird films?
yeah, just
or?
stupid things that
Army
elementary
men
school.
filming little figures and stuff.
The first thing I did is I took my micro machines and made just a stop motion
Yes.
video.
Dude, micro machines are amazing.
And
Like the precursor to Hot Wheels?
They're smaller than Hot
No,
Wheels.
Hot Wheels were out first. They're like
From the 20s.
yeah, I don't even know.
Micro machines
are
small.
amazing.
Gotcha, okay. I forget. It's been a while since
They had that guy with the fast commercials. Micro machines. He talks really fast.
Every commercial. Anyway.
So all right,
You're making short films.
Yep.
Where'd you go from there?
So from there, right out of high school, I started shooting wedding videos and honestly just had the soul sucked out of me for the next 6 years.
But were you making money at this point? Or was this weddings for free?
No, it was not for free.
Gotcha.
The idea going into it was to back in high school I was buying gear and none of it was computer based. So after high school it was all obsolete immediately. So it was the idea was I'll shoot these wedding videos, which I hated, and I'll have money to buy DVD burners and cameras and stuff like that. And I just got sucked in this downward spiral trap with that.
The loop of death.
Gear trap. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's also the trap of if you don't work on what you want to work on, you'll never work on what you want to work on. Let that simmer.
I'm trying. Got to turn the heat up to let that simmer. Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta seek out, and you have to do the jobs you want to do, so that you can keep doing those jobs.
Absolutely. That's like when we tell people when they ask for reel advice, how should I structure my reel? It's well, what do you want to shoot? Put that on your reel.
Yeah.
If you don't want to shoot it, don't show it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got
you,
stuck in a horrible.
So you're in the
rut
spiral of death with weddings.
Yep.
And then what?
So I got totally burnt out. Took about a year off, trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then decided I was going to shoot videos for companies, do a bunch of corporate work, and still, I to this day, I still love doing that, just as much as doing narrative stuff.
Cool.
Is that like talking head style or the kind of newer brand documentary type stuff?
All
of it. Yeah.
I've done commercials, talking heads, training videos, just social media, little videos.
Cool.
Awesome. So you applied a lot of what you probably learned in the wedding video phase of, everything from composition, framing, storytelling, timing, editing, and you decided, let's shift this over towards people that have budgets and don't have the intensity that their life depends on capturing the moment of their loved wedding.
Exactly. Yes, and you would think most of that would have transferred over, but actually, I'd learned those skills before I started doing the wedding videos. And the wedding videos, I just got into like a routine and just zoned out creatively and didn't learn anything while I was doing that. So it was nice to back up where I actually started and where I loved. But yeah, the payment thing is pretty funny. Like the very first like TV commercial I did is like super local commercial, and I like, oh man, I can do this 30-second video and get paid more than I get for a 2-hour wedding video.
Yeah, and you have to spend your entire weekend capturing the life of their wedding.
Yeah, and deal with personalities. You get the Johnny Depp personality with the local commercial budget.
Can I get the high heel veil shot along with the double ring shot? And let me videotape the reveal of when I step out of the room and he sees me for the first time.
Perfect.
I don't want to knock wedding videographers. It just wasn't.
No, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I've seen some wedding videos that have blown my mind.
Yeah, there are these awesome. There's a company that does these great Indian weddings.
Yeah, they're
the ones that last like 3 days.
They're shot on like Alexa.
Yeah, they're like $100,000 wedding videos.
Full G&E crew, like just the whole deal.
Techno
cranes. Yeah. So yeah, no, there's a place for that. If you are into,
there's a spectrum.
If you are into documentary love stories, go for it.
Yeah, but not like only a specific moment in time.
Yeah,
not like from the beginning.
Yeah. Only the good stuff.
Yeah, you just take all the bad.
What if maybe we should start a company that just films divorces? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of cool. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? I think there's some beauty in that. Like, okay, you know what? We captured the beauty of the honeymoon in the intro. Yeah. Let's capture like the stoic realism of the destruction.
Exactly. And our tagline could be, "You tied the knot, now let us cut it."
This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. All right. This is amazing, actually. I like this idea. Oh. What a great thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyways, all right. So you're now at a place, you're getting paid to do this sort of stuff for a living, and all of a sudden you see that this crazy podcast with two guys that drink bourbon and talk about filmmaking are in desperate need of a producer. And for whatever reason, you decided that sounds like a good idea. So now you're sitting here. Why the hell did you agree to this?
So I actually run another podcast that is a music-based podcast, and it's kind of been on a break because the other person with me had a baby, and he's been taking some time off with it. So I was kind of itching to do a podcast, and I've always wanted to do a film-related podcast. And if I know that there are people heading the project that are competent and are doing a really good job, I don't have to be doing it myself. I'm fine working with other people doing it, and that checked all the right boxes for me.
I have an even more basic question. How in the hell did you find us, hear about us, and start listening?
Actually, I randomly saw a post on Sofa on it, and I immediately just jumped on it, and I checked it out. I had the name of the podcast wasn't unfamiliar to me, but I had honestly never listened to an episode.
Wow.
Until Brandon said, "Hey, come down here." And I tried to listen to like 2 episodes on the way down my drive. So
that's great.
And now I'm
social media. All right.
I'm actually caught up on all the episodes now. So
cool.
Wait a second. You've actually listened to every episode?
Yeah. So about a month, I've gone through 73 episodes.
That's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
Wow.
Why I would have never have thought you would have done that. I have not even listened to all 74 episodes.
I think as a producer, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Had you guys had like 400 episodes,
Different story.
yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well,
Awesome,
we're
yeah.
super glad to have you.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
You've been rocking it. Like we've been talking about doing scheduling and idea generation, the whole 9 yards. So welcome aboard, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're super excited. So one of the things that I want to jump right into is, what? No, let's hold off on that.
What?
I was going to get into like his master plan, but maybe we should hold off and get to know him a little better.
He likes to keep things in the dark, Brandon.
All right, let's just. Well, we're gonna wait for that. We're gonna wait for that. Let's continue to get to know Frank a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's
I've got-
jump into likes.
I've got 3 questions for Frank.
I'm sure they're questions nobody's ever heard before. So continue.
My first question is, what are you watching, buddy?
So my wife likes cop dramas. I'm not a huge fan of them myself, but in order to spend time with her, I put up with some of them.
Like Blue Bloods?
I'm not a fan.
Are we talking TV shows or movies?
TV shows,
Okay.
TV series. She actually doesn't like movies.
Like Hill Street Blues?
No.
CSI Miami?
She likes the CSI,
there you go.
NCIS,
Chicago
There you go.
PD.
Law and Order.
She likes LL
his
Cool
name?
J. And what's his name? The guy who was in Mad Love.
Is that
The
NCIS?
curly hair. Who's that guy?
I don't know.
Brandon O'Donnell? Something O'Donnell? Mark O'Donnell?
No idea. I don't watch cop dramas.
Okay,
So,
so
There's
cop
only
dramas.
been 2 that she's liked that I've been able to put up with, and one is Psych, and then the other one's a show called Lucifer, which
Oh yeah.
I've heard good things about that.
it has an interesting twist for a cop show because it's the devil working
Sure.
with the police department, and
That's weird.
Awesome.
definitely a creative twist.
All right, so you're watching cop drama.
Yep.
What else?
So I watched this documentary called Raiders.
Brandon hates documentaries.
Raiders?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called The Greatest Fan Film. It's about these.
Oh yeah.
You've heard of it?
I know. Yeah, somebody on my last movie was telling me about this.
I don't
Continue.
know.
Yeah. So it's these, just like what I used to do as a kid, these kids that had just finished watching Indiana Jones in the theater, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And so they decided to do a shot-for-shot remake. And, of course, they jumped into, like...
On a limited budget. Yeah.
Limited budget, but, man, they built sets and stuff in their parents' house, like in their basement. Like, they said they had, like, sets set up for, like, 6 years. Like, this was a project that they worked on from junior high until their adult life.
So it's for them it's not a prod. It's not a the end is not the point. This thing needs to live forever.
Maybe.
They love the process.
You'll have to watch it.
All right.
It's
It
honest.
documents the process of it.
It's more of just the story of them making this film and going through, and then like because they're aging as they're making these scenes. So, and they're not shooting in an order. So the age of the characters keeps
Jumps
varying.
around.
And like they do, they decided they had 2 scenes which weren't shot yet, that weren't finished originally when they stopped shooting it back in high school. And so they got together as adults and let's do a fundraising campaign and let's finish this movie. And so like the last scene's like just got out of hand, honestly. And it's actually kind of sad in a pathetic way to see like kids with so much potential, like what happens.
Wow, I'm intrigued right now. I love it.
And it's called Raiders.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
All right.
That's awesome. On the topic of documentaries,
Yeah.
I watched 2 this weekend.
Which do?
I watched Alone in the. I tweeted it. So
You did.
I'm a big fan of the tweeters.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to know what I'm watching or what I'm up to, just follow me on @BrandonFerris on Twitter. I always post the cool things that I find, the films that I watch. So I use it as sort of a repository. So I'm going to it now to try to find it.
I was going to say
It was
something,
called
but
The
never
Great Alone. The Great Alone. And it's about this guy who lives in Alaska. He grew up, his dad won the Iditarod. And he always wanted approval from his father. And he never really quite got it. And he was kind of a screw-up kid. And later on in life, he decides, I'm going to run the Iditarod. And he goes on not only to win the Iditarod like his father, but he wins 4 in a row.
Dynasty.
This guy is like the man. It's an amazing tale. It's beautifully shot. It's not when I say beautifully shot, I mean it from a sense of the story and the landscape is beautiful. This is not the best cinematography you'll ever see. But it's great, and I think you'll like it. I had tears going. It's a touching, moving, compelling story that is significant.
The human element, yeah.
Yeah, so it was good. So I watched that, and then I watched a film called Asperger's Are Us, and it's about a group of 4 kids who have Asperger's, and they formed a comedy troupe. And so it's a film about their comedy troupe, but it's really a film about them. But it gives you a really interesting insight into Asperger's, and it's just a touching little piece. It's great.
Wow.
And that was produced by the Duplass brothers.
Oh, nice. Comedic. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I watched a documentary, or I started
You
one.
did?
Yeah.
You're normally not that. I mean, that's not, you like documentaries.
I love them.
But that's not your like go-to. You're usually like action sci-fi guy.
Yeah, I want to see something,
movies.
Beautifully, photographed, cinematography and everything. I started the new Werner Herzog movie.
Oh.
Lo and behold, Reveries of the Connected World.
And now we sit in the booth and we feel the energy between 3 young men.
You're like a Mexican Herzog. You're like
on the podcast. The podcast is a fuel into the mind of the freedom of the man.
His is a little more like throaty. It's like
I love him, man.
And now we see the origins of the internet. Yeah, it's good.
Are you a fan? Do you like his stuff?
That's all right.
Really?
Werner's the man.
I think he's weird. I mean, Grizzly Man's a classic.
It's all good.
Weirdest.
It's all good.
Weirdest ever. So you like it, lo and behold?
Yeah, I'm about halfway through right now because Kristen came home and we wanted to watch something dramatic in that documentary style. It's fantastic, though. He interviews Elon Musk, all these kind of tech titans, innovators, about basically how the internet started, what it impacted in our life, where it's going, issues caused by it. It's really cool.
Cool. Yeah. I've got to segue into non-documentary, and I want to hear what you guys are watching out of that space, but I'm watching a show that is a mash. It is a mesh. It's what's the place where the ocean, the salt water meets the other thing? What's that called? The brash? It's called something. It's called the mesh or the brash, or it's called
brash.
You're
brash.
It's like where salt water meets freshwater, and you have like dolphins and sharks that live in freshwater because there's like enough of both. Anyway, Alex can look that up.
Yeah, let me Google that.
What I'm trying to get at is this is a series that is fully documentary and fully narrative fiction at the same time, seamlessly interwoven, and it's unbelievably done. And I'm talking about the series on National Geographic Mars. It is awesome.
I hear amazing things.
Oh my gosh. They take a fictional story of a group of people in NASA's future program that are on the actual mission to Mars. And there's scenes on Mars, they're in the rocket ships, everything is there. And they tell this story. Meanwhile, the whole thing is pieced together like a documentary, so you're seeing these interviews where people are talking off camera like a documentary from people like Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they're all talking about what it's going to take to get to Mars. Then, like right after you see an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, it cuts to one of the fictional characters, the same documentary style interview. They're talking off camera just as if they're a part of the documentary, talking about their anxieties about what it's going to be like when they fly to Mars before they launch the trip. And so you're watching this thing and it's seamlessly cutting, and you're like, I know that's a fictional person, but it works so well, and it's just gorgeous and it's beautiful, and I can't say enough things about this. Watch this show.
But beyond that, you actually see these scenes of them on Mars and stuff.
Yes,
right?
The whole thing is shot, and it's believable. It looks real. If you were not savvy enough, you could watch this thing and think these people are on Mars. Like, it's really well done, and it's I looked it up. It's actually it's shot on the red something.
Dragon.
It's shot on red,
Yep.
and it's the perfect camera for that project because it's got this crispy little sci-fi type thing. It's awesome. And anyway, I highly recommend it. It's this great interbred world. It's the best thing I've ever seen that blends fiction,
interbred,
and
new word,
unfiction.
Sweet. Hey, by the way,
there you go.
It's called brackish water.
Thank you. I knew it was something.
But the area where the fresh water meets the ocean is called an estuary.
Wow.
An estuary.
I like that.
Leads to brackish water.
Okay.
Do you know that, Frank?
Learned it on the National Geographic Channel.
There you go. Nice.
Which is where Mars is.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, have you guys ever seen a show like that? Or if not, then go ahead and trek through the brackish water into the ocean of fiction.
I love that segue. You just blew my mind.
Woo! Woo! Straight out of the estuary.
Let's start with you, Frank. ignore the estuary and the brackishness, but what are you watching? Fiction-wise, movie-wise. Yourself, not
movie-wise,
to interact with your wife.
I still want to go see the new Star Wars. I haven't seen that yet. But actually, the thing I watched most recently was an older movie, Contact.
Yes.
There was a project I was working on, and we were referencing, there was a hallway scene with a mirror. And so we watched that clip on YouTube, and like that night I went home and just watched the whole movie. Again, I hadn't seen it since it came out, and I know when it came out, I was really disappointed like in the fact that they built a second machine. I thought that was a huge cop-out.
Yeah.
And I watched it again, and I got past that part. Like I was like, okay, I can maybe buy it if that guy's that eccentric. But in my opinion, I forgot about the ending. They completely ruined the ending. Instead of leaving it, it was this big like push and pull with religion versus science.
Yeah.
And could have been a really good ending, leaving it up in the air, and they kind of tied it up.
They had to close it out. Yeah.
I don't remember that. What was the closing thing?
Oh, it's been out for so long. Spoiler alert. Go ahead.
So the scientist who goes into the capsule,
Jody.
she's always like, you know, I'm all about science. I'm all about science. Like you can't prove that religion exists. You can prove that science exists. And so she has this experience in the capsule that only she has, and that can't be proven by science. And she's swearing like up and down, I had this experience.
Yeah, it's real.
And then
basically she meets these beings.
At the end, they say like, there was like this 8 hours that was unaccounted for. So your story is legit. Instead of, they could have just cut that part out and it would have been
There's like a whole trial and everything about
Yeah.
her lying, and it's really interesting.
Yeah. Huh.
They're trying to get to the bottom of, are you telling the truth? Yeah.
Interesting.
It is. It's very
All right.
interesting.
Contact. All right. Nice.
Contact.
What else? Anything else you're digging into or want to watch?
I actually don't get a chance to watch a lot of movies. So
I watched 2 recently, so I'll steal it from you, and I'll say, on the very far end of the fantasy spectrum, we watched Warcraft,
like the video game?
But made into a movie.
No way. Was Ozzy Osbourne in it?
By the same guy that did Moon.
I've never seen any of these.
You've never seen Moon?
No.
About the clones?
No.
Oh my God.
No, I don't know.
Okay, so Duncan Jones, his name. He's actually David Bowie's son.
Okay.
He made Moon. He made Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal, sci-fi film.
Okay. I love Jake.
Yeah, he made Warcraft. Warcraft is super fantasy. It's based on a video game, for those that don't know. Like,
the robes?
Point and cloak, tons of robes. Dude, so many robes.
Gross.
Like big robes, small robes, fuzzy robes, armored robes.
It's disgusting.
Lots of robes. It was entertaining. I won't say it's great. I won't say it's bad. Didn't get very good reviews, but watchable.
I can't imagine a Warcraft game would ever get a good review. That community is so...
No, they loved it.
Really?
The community,
So
I think, loved it. They were like, oh my God, our video game fantasies brought to the big screen. This is great.
All right.
So would that classify as a superhero movie?
No, not even close. It's a...
I don't know. It might...
It's a fantasy film.
There's-
It's like
let's-
Lord of the
No,
Rings.
no.
Yeah.
Superhero movies are a spectrum.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No.
They are a spectrum, and I feel like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all that fantasy stuff is in that spectrum, although it might be, not as intense, but I do think there's something in there because,
I disagree.
They've got they got superpowers.
Completely disagree.
They got superpowers.
No, they're magicians.
Unbelievable. Either way, it's a bunch of shit that's not real.
Do you classify M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable as a superhero film?
No, but real quick, let's take an aside to M. Night Shyamalan's Split.
I haven't seen it. Have you?
No, but it looks
amazing.
Amazing. And remember, I called Best Actor.
Yep.
For what's his name? The guy who's in Filth.
Professor X.
Well, no, the guy he
was Professor X in X-Men.
He was?
Yeah, Charles Xavier in the new ones. I think, right?
I'm talking about the guy who was in Filth. He's the guy who's in that film.
Am I thinking of
anyway, we'll look it up. Have you seen the trailer for Split?
No.
Oh my God.
I've heard.
Yeah, James McAvoy.
Yeah, McAvoy.
Yeah, he was
unbelievable.
Professor X.
Freaking genius.
Look at
McAvoy. So excited.
Charles Xavier.
Got it.
X-Men.
Anyway, he plays this guy with like multiple personality disorder who abducts these women. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think he has like 30 some different personalities.
I think it's going to be good. Yeah. It's a PG-13. How's that PG-13? Seems horrifying.
Money. Whew. They want to reach a broader audience. Yeah. It's all about marketing. Yeah.
So, anyways.
So,
where are we at? What are we talking about right now?
So, we watched Warcraft. It was okay because my wife wanted to watch it. Last night, watched a fantastic film that's been recommended to me over and over and over again, and I never had the chance to see it. Hell or High Water.
Oh, I've heard good things about that.
With Chris Pine, and speaking of Warcraft, the same dude who played this character called the Guardian, Ben Foster.
Huh.
Awesome movie. Super simple. It's like a modern Western kind of No Country for Old Men style film set in Texas about two brothers who rob banks to pay off their mom's mortgage. Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges is in that movie. Dude, I'll take Jeff Bridges any time of day.
Yeah, the dude, man, it's great.
He's awesome.
Do you like deep family dramas that are borderline Western?
Yeah.
Frank? Sometimes.
With a little bit of bourbon at your side? Yeah, you do. It's great. Everyone should check it out. Hell or High Water. Yeah, beautifully shot, by the way. It's like everything's almost at sunset-y, kind of golden hour, Texas sun.
No Country for Old Men sort of
golden
type
feel.
thing.
It's really cool.
Nice.
So anyway, that's cool. Where I've been.
I finished Westworld.
Yeah. Speaking of Westerns, God, these segues are unbelievable.
I promised somebody I'd watch it.
Oh, you got to watch it.
But I've got to get the HBO app.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
Which I don't have right now.
Yeah, it's like
you definitely need to watch
$10.
Westworld. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I like it. I will watch season 2.
It's funny, you're not usually a sci-fi guy.
I'm not, but I and it took me episode 4. I almost tapped out. It got real sleepy, and it was just like, where's this going? I think I'm losing interest. And then, bam!
It gets pretty dark.
It is real dark.
Like really delving into
although I do have
humanity's
I do have one thing I'm going to pull out, and those who've watched it will know what I'm talking about, and this should not give away the show. There is a moment where time passage plays in, and one of the main characters, Anthony Hopkins, doesn't seem to age, although other people are aging.
He does. There's a scene where you see him in the past.
No.
They digitally unaged him. Yeah.
No. I don't. Anthony Hopkins' character doesn't ever look younger, yet there's this other character in the film who's like 20 years has passed. The guy with the hat, the guy who owns the park.
Yep.
He's like aged 20 years, but Anthony Hopkins always stays the same, which doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't work. So that it falls apart there. Chime in on that if you guys are out there on the internet. Chime in. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong?
There could be a theory and a solution there.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a freaking robot or some shit. He's a droid.
Yeah. See, check that out. Anthony Hopkins, de-aging, digital. Him in the past. Boom.
That shot was never in the show.
Yeah, it was. For
Where?
those of you who can't see my phone right now, I don't know why the video on this podcast isn't working very well. We'll post that on Instagram so you can see the argument conversation piece here.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right, Westworld's good.
Speaking of digital de-aging and sci-fi films and Rogue One, the new Star Wars did a bunch of that. They recreated not a bunch, but 2 old actors and put them in the film as their younger versions of themselves. One of which has been deceased for a long time.
Huh.
They recreated him digitally and then used another actor to play his voice.
Wow.
It's crazy. And then they made Leia younger as well with digital technology. Welcome to the future, boys.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Our jobs are going away because everything's going to be done in computers now.
Well, that could be the case. We'll see. There'll be a resistance.
Don't need actors
but I don't want to jump too far away from this initial tease of superhero commentary. I don't know that we've officially... Have we had this discussion officially with Frank? Has he entered in? Has he weighed in? Has he chosen a side?
I don't think so.
Because right now...
Dark or the light side of the force?
Right now, we actually had a mic go down in the studio. So me and Alex are talking on the same microphone with the Super 8 pattern. So it's
both sides.
We're basically making out right now.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. The only thing between us is a thin layer of foam.
Yes.
This is kind of weird.
Well,
I like it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay. So anyway, me and Alex are over here cuddled up on one side of the room.
Yeah.
And
Brandon's actually sitting on my lap.
And Frank is on the other side of the room. Yeah. But this could all change right now. Because, Frank, you got to make a decision on where you stand on the superhero debate. Do you stand in solidarity with Alex, a man who appreciates...
Amongst the light?
A good time.
The men of good?
He appreciates, let's just let loose and appreciate, some fun times and some superhero powers, and there's no wrong. It's all good. It's all quality. It was a fun time. I love superhero movies.
Or do you stand with Brandon, who thinks that superhero films are mindless rubbish, the bane of humanity?
Truth.
The thing pulling our society down and apart.
Yes.
Where do you stand?
So I have a question for Brandon. You said with exception to Christopher Nolan's Batman. So
yes,
I consider that a superhero movie.
I give exception to The Dark Knight.
Why do you consider that a superhero movie?
The Dark Knight?
Yep.
Well, it's completely...
He doesn't have superpowers.
It's completely a superhero movie.
He doesn't have superpowers.
He's just a hero. So where do you draw the line?
A rich hero.
Well, and that's probably why I like The Dark Knight. Because nor does the Joker. The Joker doesn't have superheroes powers either. He's just a psychological nut job.
I guess.
So I guess where that lands is in the spectrum is that the backstory of Batman, the comic, some of the
So based on a
characters.
comic. Is that the line? Based on a comic?
Well, I'm just saying it's
plays into it.
It's getting an exception for the reasons that you're talking about. If it was, i.e., Iron Man, Spider-Man, all that crap, it's just hideous garbage.
Okay, so...
What's funny is the first few Iron Men have nobody with superpowers either. It's just a rich man and his toys. But it's played a little more comically, which I think you don't approve of. Revisit Iron Man.
No. It's horrible. I've watched it. It's the worst stuff I've ever seen. You got to answer the question.
That is a good point about Iron Man.
Yeah.
You got to answer the question.
So I love hero movies. I do not love superhero movies.
Aren't all movies hero movies?
Yes.
Isn't that the point?
Almost.
Heroes and villains.
The hero's journey.
Gotcha.
Anti-heroes
So,
as
are there
heroes.
any superhero movies that you do like?
Yes. So I'd say I'm 80% Camp Brandon.
Well, then you're 80% my enemy.
But I'm 20% your friend.
But listen, there is no, it's a yes or a no. You're either in or you're out. And if you're 80% in, then you either go all in or you go all out.
I guess we'll have to round up.
Round up. Or round down in your situation.
So you're going to say, if you got to make a decision
If we
today,
have to be absolute.
life or death.
Do not like superhero movies.
Yes. That is a clap of truth and dignity.
FTB Podcast would now like to put out a call for a producer for a podcast. Must enjoy superhero films.
Oh, goodness.
Dang
Anyways.
it. All right, we're one down. We're man down.
It happens.
Our ship's getting lighter. Our
Anyways.
forces are dwindling.
All right, I want to shift this conversation. We love this conversation, but I'm going to shift.
Go ahead.
And what I want to know is what are you working on right now?
Other than this podcast.
This podcast is a big thing. There's actually what I'm doing is, addition to videos, I used to do websites, and so I don't want to do websites anymore. So I'm wrapping up all those.
Okay, cool.
That's a big chunk of my time right there. 2 video projects that we recently wrapped on. I did this tour video for a food manufacturer.
Cool.
Kind of like a how it's made episode. And then there's also like a silly promotional music video type of thing that we are actually wrapping up today.
Cool, man.
Very cool.
So one of the things that us film nerd creative types always want to know, and I know all of our listeners want to know,
Of course.
what is your package?
Show us your package.
What are you working with? What kind of tools you got? What's the tools of the craft to achieve these things that you've just talked about?
Specifically camera side.
So camera side,
Camera support as well.
camera side, I rent the camera for the project. The only camera I own is just 2 DSLR cameras.
Nice.
And then, but supporting package I have.
Well, you gotta give us more than that.
Okay.
There's communities out here that fight over this stuff. Are we
Yeah. Are you
Canon? Are we Nikon? Are we Sony? Where are we living?
So the tour video I did, I shot that on a A7S II.
All right. Nice.
Needed something that just fit the bill perfectly.
Low light, shoot available light. You can go anywhere.
Cool.
There was a project I did. We used the Blackmagic Ursa Mini.
Ooh,
and
a lot of people like
pocket
that.
camera.
Good reviews. Yeah.
Cool.
Not a
touched
huge fan of the pocket camera.
No.
Yeah, no.
It's like a Super 16 size sensor or whatever. Micro 4/3, I believe.
And then used the C300 as well.
Mark 1 or 2?
1.
Gotcha.
Nice. Those have always been great cameras. Ergonomics,
It's great.
look. Fantastic.
I approve of your philosophy. I too like using a tool palette philosophy, the right paint for the job.
You're not a fanboy.
No, I love the Alexa, but I'm a believer that if I'm going to shoot sci-fi, it's going to have it on a red.
I'm going to send you a list of sci-fi films that you've shot on the Alexa and say that I respect your the underlying philosophy, but it's not the only thing that matters.
No, I get it. I'm just saying there's like certain things have different qualities. Mm-hmm. Alexa's just buttery. You know what I mean?
Depends on the lenses,
I don't
too.
know, but it's butter. It is butter.
Depends on the lenses.
Love it. Anyways.
The red is a little sharper and crunchier.
Cool. So you're doing a couple of those things. Any anything in the hopper? Anything that you're like pre-pro on that's kind of cool?
Always, but there's a short film that's definitely in pre-production that just kind of gets getting pushed back. Can
we get a log line? What's a tease? What's our log line tease on this thing?
A man starts a podcast.
There's a strange knock on the door, and it's not what you expect.
All right.
How about that?
To start?
I'm teased.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because me and Alex have been really pushing on getting our film Kill Game ready. And so part of that is, submissions, we're using without a box. You got to have your log line. You got to have all that stuff. Synopsis.
Yeah.
So actually, you guys want to hear what we got?
Read it. Read the log line.
So this is the log line. This is where we landed. Pretty excited about it.
Not like C-log or S-log. Just the log line.
Yeah. 3 hitmen meet at a sleepy diner for a friendly game of cards, only to find out that the deck is stacked against them.
Nice.
Yeah. So
poetic.
And then we got a nice little synopsis going where we introduce the characters. So we're super excited. Alex, you want to tell people where we landed on color?
Where we stand?
Yeah, where are we at on this thing?
So, color's done. We got the final grade. Sound's done.
It's beautiful, by the way.
Everything's beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds good. It looks good.
And kudos to the Sound Images team, Adam and Bart. They killed it. Everything in this film, they created. Everything except for the dialogue.
Which we have to give props to our buddy Josh. Josh captured really clean signal.
Yeah.
Really good audio.
Really good audio. They were able to really work with it in post. But all the Foley, all the sounds, all the sound
score.
mixing, and the score were all original. They even wrote a song.
Right.
They wrote like a song in the intro.
Yeah. If I'm gonna step back. If it was at a 4 before, like overall quality, it's now at an 8, easily.
You were coming in at a 4.
If you go unmixed sound, uncolored, 4.
I don't know. I saw it last time I was here, and I'd say it was higher than a 4 before.
Yeah, but you saw it
mix.
with mix.
That's with sound. Mix. Yeah.
Not with all the sound.
You're talking about the content edit only.
No, I think it's higher than a 4. Content's like a.
It's
like a 4.5.
I would give it a 4.5. Anyway, no. It's
what I'm saying is they doubled the quality of the overall product, basically. In terms of color, sound, it's light years above what it was.
Yeah. Sound Images, Brandon Kramer doing color together. Yeah,
everything is stepped up 10 notches.
It's great. Yeah, but I mean the story the story didn't change.
Yeah.
The story was at least a 5.
I mean, the guys who came up with it are kind of idiots.
True.
The writer was fantastic.
Yeah, Brandon Howe.
Was great.
So anyway, long story short, this thing is pretty much done. We will be submitting to the Nashville Film Festival today.
Yeah, we got to
considering it's the deadline,
jump on it.
And then we're going to submit to 10, 12, 15, however many festivals.
We got a list of 15 right now.
Yeah, we're going to go to. We're going to try to get into Aspen Short Fest.
Yep.
San Francisco Short Fest.
I think the last submission on the list ends in May.
Atlanta.
So between
Film
now
Festival,
and May,
New Orleans.
There's like 15. Yeah.
DC Shorts.
DC Short. I think Aspen, I was looking at, one of the longest running short festivals. Like 26 years or something.
I know.
Oscar qualifying.
Yeah. So who knows? We'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's been a really fun time. We've learned a lot.
Yeah.
And we hope people enjoy it.
Yeah. We got to, there's actually one other thing other than submissions to wrap this thing up that we have to do.
What's that?
We have to fulfill our Indiegogo investors and backers'
dreams,
contribution goals, whatever.
Yeah, well, we got to give everybody
our
credits.
Promises.
We got to give everybody credits.
Yeah.
And then we're going to throw a screening.
We keep our promises.
Yeah, there'll be a screening. It's coming.
I'm just saying, if you guys out there are looking to fund your film off of a crowd funding site, you got to come through.
Yeah, and we've not done a great job of that.
No.
The updates have been scarce.
Yeah, but we're holding up our end of the bar. I just know there's some deals out there that dudes never get their films or their T-shirts or whatever.
True.
And
True story.
It's a risky run, kind of.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's kind of what we've been doing.
But that leads...
Along with other stuff.
Speaking of pre-pro and thinking about new short films, you've been bouncing around some ideas.
There's a new film. It's a new
already.
Film. I've been thinking about this film. I love rom-coms. Not rom-cops or cop-roms like
Cop
your
roms?
wife. But I love a good rom-com. I love a love story, and I enjoy them very much. And so I've always thought, man, how fun would it be to do a love story?
You're just a romantic.
I am a romantic guy. And so I had this idea of, because this has happened to me throughout my life, and I think everybody can relate to this, is everyone has had an interaction at a restaurant or a coffee shop or a bar where they've had chemistry with the other person on the other side of the counter. And that chemistry, it doesn't always have to be, sexual or, whatever, but there's chemistry when you feel a connection, right? Or you feel, you might have a crush on somebody, or you feel good that, oh, this, cute girl or cute guy was nice to me or whatever. And I thought, what if we explored that? And what if it was a guy who basically starts to fall in love with the girl at the coffee shop drive-thru, like Starbucks drive-thru. But the entire relationship happens through the speaker box. And I thought that would be really fun to like let that moment happen. And so I want to see it. I want to tell the story a little bit like Groundhog Day, where the film opens up with a guy pulling up to the drive-thru and he's talking in the speaker box. And that's where the relationship starts. And then he gets his coffee, he drives off. The next day, he pulls through the drive-thru again. And so you see this through these short conversations, you see this relationship evolve until one day he gets the courage to go inside. And he pours out his heart, Jerry Maguire style, the whole deal. And he is expecting a "you had me at hello" Renee Zellweger response. And that is not what happens. And that's where the film really gets fun and interesting. I'm not going to give it away because I've already given away too much. So you filmmakers out there, feel free to riff on my idea. I'm not going to hold you to it. There's plenty of room for great romantic comedies out there. But our resolution we think is really fun and unique. And I said to Alex, hey, you want to make a rom-com? Here's this idea. And you said you would do it.
And I said, who's Gary Maguire?
So far, this film, which we're referring to as Whipped, has a director of photography, and a producer. We've aligned with Sarah Kinney, who she's produced some stuff with Leap Frame. She's given the verbal that she would produce it. Mm-hmm. We have a designer. We have two designers. And ultimately, there's a guy here right now. We're going to put him on air. Kyle, you're on air on Filmmakers Drinking Bourbon. How are you?
Am I really now?
Yeah, you are. That's probably why I didn't pick up the call. So I know you might need some stuff from me for our, quote, projects, and we're wrapping up here, so I'll be back to the office shortly.
Sounds good. You guys have a fun time.
But we just were actually, as soon as you called, we were talking about the new romantic comedy Whipped and how we've got a team ready, and we got some pretty cool ideas.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a little fun thing.
Nice, awesome. All right, man. Well, I think we're gonna have you on the show in a couple weeks to talk about sort of like getting your brand right and designing and sort of positioning. I know you've done a lot of work with the new Leap Frame branding. So, can I get a verbal commitment that you'll come on the show?
Oh, for sure. I love hanging with you guys.
All right, cool, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
What a nice guy.
That's what we do on the show. Sometimes we just pull people off the phone.
Pull them off the phone.
So anyway.
Cool. Whipped.
Whipped is coming. Romantic comedy. It's going to be a short. We've learned a lot from the first short. This one is actually going to be a short.
Yeah.
The first one was kind of a long short. 20-minute short.
Anything under 40 minutes is a short, Brandon.
True. But this one we're shooting for like an internet short.
5 to 7.
Yeah.
So, Frank, I got a question.
Yep.
You're starting a new short film, starting a few other things, starting specifically in the narrative sense, in project sense. How do you come up with ideas? How do you start a project from scratch? It's a very broad question.
It is.
It's very broad, but in narrative sense. So the short film, for example, are you involved with idea generation? Who came up with it? How did you begin?
Yeah. So on this one, I'm actually working with a aspiring screenwriter. So actually, I'm part of the board of Film Dayton, the Dayton's Film Commission, and there's a member of Film Dayton who is still in her senior year of high school, and she's an aspiring screenwriter. So I brought her on to do like just a little 3-minute short film.
Cool. Do you know Dave Gaylor?
No.
He's in our film. He's the Rooker character. He's from Dayton.
Okay.
And so Stephen Callan. Callan. How do you say his last name? Stephen Strelick.
Yeah, Strelick.
Yeah. He's from Dayton. The two Dayton guys in our film. No?
If you need talent,
all right,
hit him up.
Anyway.
But so I met with her. We kicked around some ideas together. We found one that I liked well enough to make and sent her off to write a draft. She came back to me and I tore it all apart, and then she went and kept revising.
In the first idea generation stuff, was it all based on location, on budget? How do you base what idea you're going to do? Because some are just too big, some are too small.
Absolutely. I gave her a ton of restraints to work with because I think things work better when you have the restraints laid out and you're realistic about them. So this is tiny budget. We're probably talking, a few $100 to maybe $2,000. 3 minutes, one location, 1 to 2 actors, minimal dialogue, and no period pieces.
Oh, I was going to ask, do you set a genre at that point? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Open slate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Blank slate.
But with the budget, you can, almost rule out a period. Unless you just happen to be sitting on top of like great costume wardrobes.
Yeah.
From
So
the
the
1800s.
interesting thing about this is we're on the fence on whether to make it. I started out saying no period, like not a period, but we're toying with the idea of setting it in the late 90s, which could be doable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not
Still
really.
some of that stuff around.
I would call that period.
Yeah, we're not talking about 20s, 40s,
Yeah.
1800s.
Yeah.
So, obviously, horror.
Suspense with a twist.
Okay, cool. That's,
All right.
in my mind, that is the easiest genre to do on a budget.
I don't agree.
I completely agree.
I don't agree.
I agree with my own
I think-
statement.
I think that bad horror is just shitty movies.
I never said anything about bad or good. Successfully pull off with limited funds. Look at all the most successful, highest grossing films in the box office, especially today. You look at something like Paranormal Activity, The Blair Witch Project, made for what, like $50K?
Okay, your point.
They go on to
Your
gross
point's been made.
$400 million.
Your point's been made.
It's what the public wants, Brandon.
All right, I get it.
Anyway,
I get it.
that's kind of how we started Kill Game, though. I know we've talked about it before, but we set constraints.
Yeah, we said
Single location.
Yep.
Limited actors.
Yep.
Which
one
led us into
one scene, one situation,
which led us
Yeah.
into a genre.
which essentially, for me, of that thinking and of that philosophy, Phone Booth is a standout. It was a masterful work, and I brought it up on a couple shows ago. Money Monster works much the same way. It happens all in a newsroom until he leaves towards the end, but it's very confined, very constrained.
Yeah, and I think Phone Booth was super low budget, like $20 million.
Shut up. So
The nice thing about these little short films, for me at least, is that I basically own all my own equipment. I have enough
yeah,
to do these, and it's just basically the only rental expense would be, do I want to rent a camera for this?
Right.
And then do I want to stabilize the camera?
Yeah.
all right.
Sweet.
Speaking of constraints, we have given you constraints with this podcast. Very little budget, very broad ideas, and a community that is smoldering with energy on the Slack group. Hundreds of people in the Slack group.
Smoldering.
And smoldering. You like that?
I do.
And
It kind of assumes that they've been smothered.
and
in the
we've
past,
got
though.
listeners all over the world, and we have gotten to a place where we've been able to take it as far as we can take it. What is your plan? What can this is ultimately why you're on the show, and people, want to know, what are you going to do with this podcast? Do you have a plan as a producer? What is that plan? What can people expect? 2017 is no longer our podcast. It's Frank's podcast. Frank, the Man of Steel, is going to dictate the future of all of us. Go.
Well, the nice thing is that you left me a good framework to work from. I don't have to scrap everything and start from nothing. But I think we're cruising along in a car, but we just have the emergency brake on right now, and we can keep pressing that pedal, the gas pedal, faster. But it's just not.
That's why it smells like something's burning. Gotcha.
Smoldering.
Smoldering.
smoldering. So I'm going to take off the emergency brake. Things are going to run smoother, and we're going to be able to accelerate quicker.
Wow, this is amazing.
I like where this is going. If you need me to navigate, I'm right here.
It's a driverless car. I'm in the back.
So there's I'm working on processes, lists, especially with the contributor episodes when we start bringing in additional people for those, there's just going to have to be a better process in place. There's going to be like a small checklist that they tick off.
Quality control. But I do want to hear, are you going to bring us a good variety of places? I'd love to hear like what's happening in Idaho, Montana, Wichita, Denver, Seattle.
Yes.
Okay, great.
And I'd love to hear the foreign side of things.
Oh yeah,
London, New Zealand.
Yes.
We touched on some of it, but we need
accents,
some variety. Yeah.
Okay.
Cutter.
Yeah.
If you can pull off a contributor podcast from Cutter, I retire. Done. Because you know how hard it is to drink bourbon in Cutter? It's really hard. Let alone to drink bourbon and do a filmmaking podcast. It's almost impossible.
Even as an expat.
Yeah. As an expat who's a filmmaker, you got to jump through hoops to get that done. Okay, so you've got a plan. You're going to talk about some things. Is there a format? Is there is there something people can think about, like how this thing's going to unfold throughout the year? Or are we just going to do what we've always done and just talk about stuff?
So this year is going to have. We talked about the car. We're going to have the GPS roadmap, so we don't need Alex.
Peace.
So basically, we're going to start of the new year, starting fresh, talk about new projects on the horizon. And so we are just going to take the listeners and have them take us also through the process of taking a project from conception to film submission.
Cool.
Nice.
And every month's going to have a general topic.
Like a theme?
Yes.
Okay.
General theme for that along the road.
That we at least touch on in the episode, right?
Yes.
So can I assume that January has something to do with like ideation, planning, pre-production-ish, or what?
Goals, resources, starting your project, starting your business if you haven't done that or you're thinking about doing that, making the jump from part-time to full-time or freelancer.
Cool. Okay, cool. So with that in mind, if you are a regular listener, we'd love to hear from you. Join our Slack group. Go to fdbpodcast.com, find the links, join the Slack group. We'll get you in. And when you're in the Slack group, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you want to hear from us when it comes to starting your business, running the deal, launching your brand, whatever that might be. That's what we're going to be talking about a lot this month. So here's the ask. So we want to hear from you. Also, hit us up, as always, at FDB Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. We usually communicate fairly well if we can. So
we try.
Let us know what are the questions you want answered as we navigate through the month of January and talk about everything that it takes to start and run and launch and get things prepared for the new year.
Speaking of that,
Yes.
Slack. So it's broken into a bunch of groups. Yep, cinematography, all those different types. I think we should start, speaking of starting, we should start a new channel based on pre-production for people to specifically talk about that.
Okay.
Idea generation.
I'm fine with that.
How to raise funds, et cetera, et cetera.
Done.
That way that's all
Okay. Done.
put in that little box.
Great.
Cool?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sweet. Hey, can we tease who's next week?
I guess. I don't...
It's
So who's
confirmed
next week?
right?
Yes.
We're good to go. So next week, speaking of starting, we're going to do a little continuing, and we're going to have on our good buddy Brad Gollowin,
Yeah, we like Brad.
who hasn't been on the show in a long time.
He's been traveling Europe.
He's been traveling Europe with a big rock band. I'll let him explain that. He's got a new short film that we shot, finally dropping, but he can take us through the process of how he started that project, where it's at now, and how you start things in the future.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
I can't wait.
All right, guys.
Should be a good one.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Anything else, producer?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm very active on Slack. Like you said, just post a bunch of stuff, and most likely I'll have something to say.
What's your Slack? Everybody's got a handle. I'm Brandon, I think. Or
Are you?
Beef Harris, one of the two.
No. I'm like Alexander dot something or
What's your
I'm Steele FE.
Steel FE?
Steel EFE.
Nice.
Yes.
Like
Awesome.
FE as an iron.
Yes.
Gotcha. I have one last thing to say.
Whoa, did you just get a periodic table?
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That's my former
Nice.
major. Anyway, one last
Weren't
thing.
you a biologist? Marine biologist.
Started in chemistry.
Oh, okay.
And then went to physics.
And then you
went to
became
biology.
a lifeguard.
Yeah. And then I'm whatever I am now. One final note.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. It's
to you, to everyone out there.
Is this the first episode?
This is the first episode of the
2017?
New year.
Wow.
2017.
Crazy thought on that. We are almost going to double the amount of podcasts after this year is over that we have.
Wow.
What?
We're sticking to one a week. It's 52 additional podcasts we're going to have.
We're going to have over 150? Something like that?
With, yeah, I don't
125-ish.
know. Things could shut down.
We're crushing it. Anyway, we're off to a great start. This is
it's been fun,
last
man.
year was great. I think this year's
excited.
only going to be better. So
yeah, and welcome aboard. We really appreciate you a lot. You've done a killer job. Keep it up. How can people get connected to you? So I know you obviously are a filmmaker. You're doing stuff as well aside from producing the show. What's the best way for people to connect with you? You got a website?
Right.
You got a Twitter? What do you do?
That's one of the things I am working on this coming year. So just beginning at the beginning of the year, but basically franksteele.info.
All right.
Just go to that. Right now it just links to my Facebook page.
Right there. So if you're in the Midwest, if you're looking for a guy who can make things happen, a filmmaker with, you can do it all, right? Run and gun, shoot, cut, edit, the whole deal, right?
Yep.
So look him up, and otherwise you'll catch him in the Slack group, and you'll not see him as he lingers in the dark corners of the FTB podcast, making it happen behind the scenes.
absolutely.
So, all right. Well, it's good to have you on board, my friend, fellow superhero hating cohort.
I see where you're going. I'm going to end it on a positive note and say welcome to the new year. Thanks for sticking with us, and stay tuned for great new content.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast was recorded live at Sound Images Studio. Find out more at soundimages.com.